Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Broadway Jets YouTube channel. You'll know me from Twitter, nice as NYJ Mike. I'm joined as always by the master of receipts, NYJ Matt, and today we have a very special guest. He's got media credentials. He knows the ins and the outs. He is a co-founder of Jets X Factor. He's technically our boss. He's not technically our father. It's Robby Sabo. Robby, welcome on, bro. Thank you so much for coming on.
I For anyone listening, I just heads up, I don't know who these 2 people are, but it's like this is like sort of ransom.
Blink if you're okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
blackmailed me into this, so,
He
I'll
hasn't
play
blinked.
along, but just a warning.
And Robby, you're a recurring guest. I think we've had you on a couple times. So this is the first time we've actually had a good production quality. And Robby, as a part of the Jets beat, is very much plugged in. And with the 53-man roster coming out, Robby, I think you were like 98% in your predictions, maybe one or two off. Give us your
Good.
takeaway on the 53 coming out and then the overall practice squad that the Jets ended up with.
I mean, the 53 wasn't too surprising. It's always tricky, right? Because the first 53 doesn't really count because Morstead and Bowden were off of it, but we all knew they were coming back, and Bowden's back obviously because Rodgers and Hackett love a fullback. So I guess the big surprising thing is 7 receivers. I mean, I think eventually Irv Charles will go to the pup, not the pup, the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be shy to do it because they don't want them swiped. But 7 receivers is a lot.
Robby, who lost his spot because Irv Charles is the
I
7th
think
receiver?
that's Eccles' spot right now.
Yeah.
I think that's Eccles' spot because they're really light at corner. They only have 5 guys, and that counts Hardy.
Who's a special teams ace?
Right, who's a special teams guy. So they're light there. They have 4 safeties. Trey Dean was the other surprise. When I put out that prediction, I did hear about the Trey Dean news. So disclaimer, that was one that made it easy for me. I heard about it.
You have to tell the people
You
that.
don't tell
Just take
people
credit.
that. You're
Just
good.
take credit.
Come on, of course,
Take the
gotta be
credit.
upfront fella. Bam Knight, that was pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And then at line, would they keep 10 on the line? Yeah, Carter
'Cause
Warren,
Carter
Max
Warren
Mitchell.
stayed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Brownlee and Gibson, Corey Davis retiring sort of made it. It was a blessing in disguise because they didn't want to lose either guy. They loved both guys. Gibson from OTAs, he was one of the guys that I just loved at OTAs. So I'm not surprised at all. And I think even though you're kind of nervous, it's just Garrett Wilson and no one else in terms of a number one. They're really deep there. They got a lot of guys.
Robby, is Xavier Gibson's best quality that he looks like Jamison Crowder, or is there something else?
He's just a tough son of a bitch, man. That kid is just
Yeah.
tough. And I happened to see the Hard Knocks today. I never catch it the night of. Did you guys see the latest one yet with Brownlee and
Oh
Gibson?
yeah. Oh yeah. Very, very cool. I would
Yeah, his
smoke both
hands.
in the ping pong. So would
I
Matt.
texted Mike.
Yeah.
I said he was a little late, I think like 30 minutes after me. I was like, I am okay with Corey Davis retiring because the 10-minute saga of Gibson and Brownlee was cool. But we do think, I think more than other Jet fans, that the Corey Davis retirement is much of a bigger deal than people are letting on. Like that is your wide receiver too. And I love the idea of keeping 2 young guys and maybe they can develop into something, but they are wide receiver 5 and 6 in the depth chart. Is the Corey Davis news from your perspective a bigger deal than some fans are letting on?
It's strange. Yes and no, probably not, because I think Corey Davis's best days are behind him and he never stays healthy.
That's fair.
On paper, though, yes, it's a big deal because it gets people thinking that, man, it is scary if Garrett Wilson's not on the field. Like,
You
that's
become
the main thing.
You become
But
the
Robbie,
2020 Jets.
the
It's terrifying.
timeline of what happened, sorry, Matt,
Yeah.
was just strange because so the Jets are in on Odell,
Mhm.
and you figure they want a receiver, and then so you don't get Odell for the right reasons because he got paid too much money. You're not in on Hopkins. Corey Davis, you could have cut earlier in the offseason or proposed this pay cut and then try to get another receiver. But now Corey Davis semi-retires. The Jets recoup that money, but now it's kind of late in the offseason. How did that all go down?
Honestly, this is one that you guys may know more than me, being plugged in terms of the rumors. Have you heard anything in terms of rumors? Like, I don't want to say conspiracies, but reasons as to why he decided to do this.
Well, you want to talk conspiracies? We've heard the Nick Bosa ones, which are fun. We've heard, of course, you hear the Devontae Adams only because he was with Rodgers. You hear about the Mike Evans because it just kind of makes sense if the Bucs struggle. We don't know anything.
Yeah, I just
It's
think
more, yeah.
he's just dealing with a personal issue, and it just popped up at the wrong time. Um, again, so much of it is going to depend on Garrett Wilson's health and Brownlee and Gibson, especially Brownlee, because Gibson's more of a X factor, jack of all trades type guy who's going to return kicks. I think he's going to return kicks off the bat instead of Hardy,
Well, now
especially with the Corey.
you can't have Mecole Hardman hurt, right?
Yeah,
With
especially
now
with the Corey Davis
he's not
news.
the fourth
So
guy anymore.
100%. So I think Brownlee's going to be a huge, huge key this season.
And
do you see
Robby
Randall Cobb? I'm sorry, Matt.
No, I mean that's where I was going next.
You say
The block by Randall Cobb was amazing, and then that kind of led into the whole debate that happened today on Twitter with Jihad Ward, where he got hit for like 5 seconds. Like 5 seconds, he hit Rodgers after the play. Was it like egregious? No, but yeah, hit him a little late, and Rodgers, went back at him. Then Jihad Ward watches Hard Knocks last night. Everyone's clowning him because Rodgers told him that he'd never heard of him. So now he makes up a bullshit story today that he heard the Jets players laughing after the Cobb hit. A complete lie. But that Cobb hit, he turned back the clock to 2014, like Rodgers said, and decapitated that dude.
Yeah, I mean, if he heard the Jets laughing after the Cobb hit, it was because of the jokes, to Cobb. Like, dude, it's not 2011 anymore. Dude, you lost your money, your training camp money. That's what he heard. Nothing malicious.
There's no Jets
why are you
laughing
beheading
out
a
loud.
player in preseason for no reason?
Yeah,
Right.
but
That's
no,
just paranoia. If he
no
truly thinks
Jets
they're
fans are
laughing, if he truly thinks they're laughing at the Giants, that's paranoia. I mean, number one. Number two, I like the Rodgers reaction based on the fact that he's plugged in, man. He is ready to roll. And he takes every little slight to heart. And that's what you want to see if you're a Jets fan.
And how about that clip of Rodgers where the Jets offense is struggling in camp in the Hard Knocks episode yesterday, and then Rodgers they fucking dropped 3 balls, this, and then he's like, let's get to work, and thinks about a couple different things. Like, Garrett, why don't you run the route a little bit this way? Why don't you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, then bang, 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 bang. I don't know if they cut it up differently. It probably wasn't that smooth. There probably wasn't 6 straight incompletions and then like 5 completions, but it's nice.
I'll tell you what, Rodgers being on Hard Knocks is the worst friend to the media, the mainstream media right now, because the way he's been painted in the media in terms of general public perception is the complete contrast of who he is as a person. Like when Jets fans were deciding between Carr and Rodgers, will Rodgers be involved? Is he into it? He's on the verge of retirement. Folks have to realize this. You have to be a killer, like stomp by your throat type killer to do what he's done in the NFL, a competitive menace. And that's what he is. And few people realize that. And that flew under the radar with Rodgers. And as he said, when he's all in, he's all in. And I think Hard Knocks has been the biggest blessing for him.
To your point, Robbie, the thing that bothers me with the anti-Rodgers takes are 2 things. One is lack of playoff success, because Rodgers' numbers in the playoffs are insane. His team has lost 4 NFC Championship games that he's played in, and he's averaged over 30 points a game. The defense hasn't done it. And 2, you get the to your point, you get the sense that there's this negative energy around Rodgers that I've never seen from an athlete who has won so much as he has. He wins 13 games every year. Meanwhile, you have this mantra around him that he's a selfish guy, blah, 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 which may be true in some aspects. But who wins 13 games like this in the NFL that is a quote unquote selfish person?
But you know where it comes from. It comes from, one, the media around like early days. It was, he's not close with his family. So he's probably a prickly guy and kind of an ass. And then the media itself, he was snippy with a little bit in Green Bay. And then he didn't want to get a COVID vaccine. And then the mainstream media is like, oh, he's like a weird asshole. We're going to hate him. Ayahuasca. And to your point, Robbie, they painted him out to be a saint, which is awesome. But the Jets will have final editing for Hard Knocks. That's why there's no Joe Douglas, not one single really mention of Joe Douglas in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
Becton's a great storyline where you'd assume like they want to show him. The Jets probably said, "Hey, look, he's off the table. We want him to focus on getting healthy."
Show Jerome Cappy.
Yeah, they showed Jerome Cap a million times. They don't show the GM or Mekhi Becton once.
Show Tanzel Smart.
Well, part of that is their own production team, you know, trying to divvy it up because Douglas has been on One Jets Drive a lot. So I assume that. But the other thing with Rodgers is I think part of it is how he got painted with a broad negative stroke is he doesn't give a shit. Like, that's the thing. He doesn't care. He doesn't have PR people working 24/7 for his image. He doesn't care. And
There's no wife
like,
to bother.
imagine it doesn't look good. Like, you don't talk to your family. Okay, that doesn't look great. But he's the type of person in which if there's a legit reason why he's not talking to his family, like his family's a bunch of just not great people
Brother's a dickhead. I don't know.
who did him dirty,
Yeah, I don't
and
know.
he realizes that he's in the right and they did him dirty, but people view him as the villain, he's not going to try to fix that. He doesn't care. He's going to say, if they view me like that, so be it. Yeah, I know it's
That's
not true.
That seems like the way he comes off.
Right. And that's the best thing you want out of a leader.
He just does what the right thing is in his mind. Yeah, no, that's interesting because I don't know any details of why he doesn't talk to his family. I've never heard.
It's
of
their
I
fault.
don't either.
I don't know the details, but it's his family's
their
fault.
fault.
Yeah.
On them. He could do no wrong.
Yeah.
So Robbie, you're obviously like on the One Just Drive campus. You're around the players. Any stories or any little nuggets you could throw our way from training camp that stand out? Like you dap up
Yes.
Rodgers, you know, just like give me something that I
Or
can
his
look back
hands,
on.
like smooth.
Oh, jeez.
Just make it up, even if it's not true.
Make it up even if it's not true. Quinnen Williams ate a hot dog after one
What?
play right on the field. Yeah.
So
He took a Sanchez. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sanchez was visiting that day. It was Sanchez, Decker.
Yeah, that's why.
Exactly.
is
No,
right.
I mean, listen, the atmosphere is just. This is what I'll say. Fans, you know, they're hyped. They're ridiculously hyped. Their talent, they're being like people think and expect them to make the playoffs, but that's doing them a serious injustice. They have so much more talent than that. And the only reason it's not being portrayed or predicted out that way is because it's the Jets. So I think getting over that first hurdle in terms of pessimistic expectations is a big thing. And it'll start week 1. But in camp, the vibe from the fans, from the players, mainly because of Rodgers, but not all Rodgers. You know, the process Douglas and Salah put in is monster big, especially with the injuries. There's no injuries. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
When was the last time the Jets had no injuries at this point? It's absurd. So that whole system Douglas put in, everything has been positive beyond belief compared to years past.
Yeah, Chuck Clark is the one guy who's done for the year, which sucks. But they signed. Do you think, Robbie, the Jets would have signed Adrian Amos if they didn't know Chuck Clark was hurt? Because it was
No.
like simultaneous, right? It was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think no. I think Amos would not be here.
Because we didn't know that as fans, but I'm
Right.
sure the Jets knew that he was hurt at that point.
Correct. They knew, and it makes sense from the standpoint that they love Tony Adams so much, and he's their free safety. And although Amos could play deep safety, you want Adams and either Amos or Whitehead playing strong.
Right.
So Amos is that
even
perfect
played in the
replacement for
preseason.
Clark.
They let Adams sit, which was surprising to some people.
No, he's their guy.
Players. Yeah.
I even think he was their guy with Clark here. People were projecting Clark and Whitehead as the starting safeties. No, Clark is not a traditional free safety. He could do it. He can get it done. And with the Jets corners, you could get away with it. But I think Adams has been their guy all along.
Yeah. And Robbie, you mentioned going in healthy, right? Huge storyline. Obviously very cool to have that happen because now we can look back and say, if the Jets have a slow start, which we don't expect, they have a tough schedule. Joe Douglas put a team on the field that we're comfortable with and we're happy with. If things don't go the right way, we're not going to curse the organization. What some fans would say is, hey, you have $17.5 million in the cap right now. Should you have made a move earlier, maybe to get that wide receiver too, if you knew Corey Davis was going to be out, get a linebacker, do something with that money. And I've read a book on the salary cap. I did like a full 100-page book, learned about it. Obviously, there's that carryover. 100
Jeez.
pages. It took me like
That
2
seems
hours.
like a almost too
hours?
perfect number. That's
Yeah.
like a too perfect number for a
It sounds
a
it's bullshit,
non-book
Robbie. I
reader would
agree.
say that. Yeah.
I've read maybe in my entire life like 5 books.
Yeah, that's like the
Non-scientific.
dude that's like, yeah, my girl in middle school. Yeah, my girlfriend lives out of town. She comes up during the summer.
Yeah, oh
That-
yeah,
that's
he met her in band camp. Yeah,
yeah.
summer camp. My
Yeah.
dad said the last book he read is The Lorax. Matt, we can't even see that. Dude. This is
90,
fucking, you have a
90, I
background.
swear to God, 97 pages.
Yep.
A book. A
Okay,
full book.
there you
But
go.
my point is, do you think they're looking at this season as, yes, playoff is a must. We are a conference championship team. And even next year with everyone in the system again, healthier, more draft picks, and now like potentially 25, 30 million, we're going to build a superpower in 2024. Like, why are you rolling over 18 million in the cap? Like, what do you think that rationale is?
I don't think it was done totally purposefully, if that makes sense. You know, the Rodgers situation wasn't concrete. I think it was a lot more concrete in terms of them knowing he was going to come here. I think, I'm not saying this is fact, but I think they knew, but towards the end of last season, they had a good feeling. And when he said on McAfee the first time, something to the effect of, I think Zach Wilson, when McAfee asked about Zach Wilson, there was nothing connecting the Jets to Rodgers concretely. He said something about it would be good if Zach got humbled a little bit and blah, blah, blah. Right there, that was a light in my head. Like, okay, shit's happening. Like, this is probably going to happen. But the contract, that end wasn't concrete. So I don't know if it was done purposefully. Number one. Number two, they got a lot of guys to resign to sign to long-term deals. Like their studs are all on cheap contracts. So it's okay to have that cap number. And number three, what if a Nick Bosa becomes available? I mean, you have that money. So
Breaking news.
But Robbie, that's
breaking
the thing.
news. Yeah.
That's the thing for Nick Bosa. But is it? Are they got to be? They should be playing something. I mean, the way Rodgers talked about it, it wasn't just Dalvin Cook. When Rodgers took the pay cut,
Yeah.
it was like we're trying to create flexibility to do something. Dalvin Cook signs with the Jets. Of course, that's part of it. Got to be something else in terms of that thinking. Like they don't have to do anything. We're very grateful. We have all these players. I don't want to sound like I don't want to piss off half of our audience, but I don't want to sound like some like 2010 Yankees fan where it's like give us every player. But it's got to be something more to that. Mike Evans, Devontae Adams. Not that there's anything concrete. Something.
I think you're right. There's something more to Dalvin than just Dalvin Cook, but it's an open-ended more. It's an open-ended, multiple avenues type more to it. And to what Matt was asking, I don't think the Jets ever go into a season thinking, okay, it has to be playoffs or bust, has to be conference championship or bust. I think it's the process. And what did Douglas do the first draft? Becton, O-line. Second draft, O-line. Skill players. Now they're doing things, Jets fans are screaming at Douglas for not going hard in free agency the first couple of off seasons. You don't do that until you have the core first, until you have that cheap, young draftable core that are on cheaper deals. And then he goes out and gets Dalvin Cook, which I didn't even get your take. How'd you guys feel about the Cook signing?
Very happy. The dude is 6th in the league in rushing last year. You have a stud second year now running back who's coming off an ACL. It makes too much sense. Too much sense.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I agree too. It's one of those things where there was outrage. Nania was getting battered left and right for his.
I mean,
his
poor Nania
opinion.
because he's just making the point where Bam Knight has been productive and does certain things well.
Yes.
You can't hit tweet on that. As soon as you hit tweet on that, you're gonna get dragged.
Yes.
No, you can't think like that. You got to tweet the right
Good
thing.
for him. Good for him.
Rodgers doesn't care that his family hates him. Nania doesn't care that Bam Knight being better than Dalvin Cook is a good take. Fine. Continue, Robbie.
Yeah, and listen, it's one of those things where it happened, and it wasn't surprising to me, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Number one, if you're a Jets fan, if you're the Jets organization, Rodgers has a lot to say, and what Rodgers wants, you got to make it happen as much as you can. And he wanted Dalvin Cook, and Douglas is going to make that happen. Bam Knight, hate to see him go. He gets so many hidden yardage in there. He fights for extra yards. It's incredible. I wish him luck in Detroit. But this is Dalvin Cook, folks. Like, come on. He's not the best pass pro. He's not the best in pass pro, not the best pass protector as the sixth man. But again, Aaron Rodgers is running the offense. So
Right. We won't be
I
complaining
wouldn't.
if he has a 72-yard screen touchdown, right? About his
Yeah,
pass
I'm not.
protection.
Brees Hall's coming back from a serious injury. Running back, you got to have multiple guys. Like, I'm loving it, the deal. And other criticism I heard was, why are you signing Dalvin Cook when you could boost the O line? And I'm thinking, like, what is this, April? It's freaking August. Like, where are
Right.
you going to boost the O line from? If they're signing Dalvin Cook to
That's
this
the
number in
thing.
April, yeah. If it's April, I'm not loving it, but it's August, so it's a good signing.
But also, Robbie, for the offensive line, like a guy like Morgan Moses, right? We pulled in late in the training camp one year.
Ryan Khalil.
Ryan Cleo, right? And those one worked out the other one worked out really terribly. Mekhi Becton, they don't pick up his fifth year option. So he is playing on a basically 1 year deal, right? And
Yeah.
he's going out there and just as a first round pick, hasn't played in 2 years. If he plays 14, 15 games, right? And stays healthy, like I don't even know if there's like a blueprint for what a contract would look like for a guy who could be, when healthy, a Pro Bowl tackle who then has injury concerns is going to walk the open market. Like, it's such a weird world. I think the Jets completely did the right thing. You can't pick up that option knowing what could happen. What's your take on Becton? Right? Are we optimistic? Are we thinking he's going to play a full year? And what happens after the year?
I think I'm the most optimistic about him that I've ever been, and it's mainly due to personality and his human side. You know, him and Rodgers connecting, him and Cam Clark. They brought in Cam Clark, and his
Yeah.
mom confirmed that he's doing wonders with him. So I think from a human side, in terms of developing as a person, I think it starts there. Like, yeah, the injuries will always be there, but if you're in good spirits, it sounds crazy, but if you're in good spirits, the injuries will happen less likely. Because if you're out there and you're afraid to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. And if you're in good spirits, you won't be afraid. So I'm really optimistic. You're right. There isn't a blueprint for that type of contract, but I think if all goes well, he'll want to return.
Yeah. And you could say the same for Zach Wilson in a weird way. When it's
No,
like
for sure.
a ton of people are like, oh,
Good
Zach
comp.
Wilson
Good
like
comp.
is like, yeah, maybe Zach Wilson wants to come back as a QB2 behind a guy thinking he knows this place, knows the organization, and if he can build himself to be a quarterback in 2025, 2026, potentially. Like, a lot of people think Zach Wilson's 100% gone. I think even Connor might have said that after the year.
No,
Well,
no
I don't
the
way.
see that
difference
being the case.
between Zach and Becton is that Becton had that really, really good rookie season. Becton, second backwards. Becton had a great rookie season. Zach didn't.
Yeah,
So
but
that's the only difference. I agree with you. That
yeah,
everything
that's
else.
the only difference. But it doesn't matter. Like if he
Yeah.
okay, the Giants game, the first play of the game, what happens? Wink Martindale's challenging the Jets, 7 or 8 at the line of scrimmage. Rodgers looks at the defense real quick and says, easy. I'll
Let me
just
throw a
take the
screen.
little
Yeah.
quick signal to my guy, little smoke screen to Garrett. Boom, we're off and running, first down. That's not Hackett. You know, I was hearing praise like Hackett's calling plays, keep Aaron Rodgers safe. No, that's the system. That's the procedure that Rodgers brings that you can't do with LaFleur without Rodgers. You can't do with Hackett without Rodgers. It's Rodgers. That's how much he makes a difference. And Wilson is picking up on that. So even though Wilson hasn't done it yet, my God, man, people fail to, when evaluating talent and personnel, people fail to identify the actual increases and decreases in morale and personality and that human touch. And for Zach Wilson, and Becton, it's both on the upswing.
Now, Robbie, on that point, let's say Rodgers stays here for 3 years. I think Rodgers playing for 3 years is a normal thing for two reasons. One, Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. He's 43. He has his wife bothering him. He's an old man. And not, 43 is young, sorry, but he plays 3 years. Peyton Manning broke his neck, got surgery, went to Denver, played 4 years. Rodgers, I think, could play 3 years unless he wins a Super Bowl or has a really tough injury. Just spitballing based on what he said, blah, blah, blah. Now, why wouldn't that happen? And if that does happen, if he plays 3 years, does that mean that that's the end of Zach Wilson with the Jets?
I mean, that's a tough one to answer. It depends on how Zach Wilson's feeling. It depends on how he produces in the preseason. It depends on so many factors. I mean, for
Because
him to
the
stick
Jets would have to
around,
sign him to a second contract at that
correct,
point.
correct. They'd have to
Yeah.
sign him to a discount deal. Discount deal. I mean, here's the good thing: Wilson is not coming off productive seasons, so he has really no leg to stand on.
Right. What's his
Um,
leverage?
It's not
right.
only not productive, it was egregious to the point that it was really that bad. And I'm hope the kid can bounce back, but the Jets should have made the playoffs last year and they did not. And maybe
Yeah.
because they didn't, they got Aaron Rodgers, so fuck it. But if Zach Wilson's a competent quarterback, you can't lose back-to-back home games to Detroit and Jacksonville. You can't
No,
lose 6 straight to end the year.
You
So
could lose, but you could lose 30-28. You can't lose
my
19-3.
my point
Yeah.
is, I think he would take a discount and like one, who else is going to want him? They're not going to let him be a starter. And two, he's like, I can be an organization behind Rodgers and really learn and potentially take the reins. And if that's in 2027, 2026, Zach Wilson's like 27, 28 years old. Like it's another thing. There's no blueprint for it.
no, there's no
Yeah.
blueprint. He's still young. I mean, he's honestly still young for a quarterback. Scott Mitchell, a long time ago, filled in for
Lion.
Marino in Miami, went down to Detroit. I mean, it's happened. Rich Gannon got off to a slow start, was with Minnesota, then
Kurt
caught on with
Warner went to
Oakland
be
and grew.
a grocery store clerk.
Yeah, Kurt Warner. So they'd have to
Agreed.
sign him. If Wilson's on board, they'd have to sign him to like a 2-3 year deal. Overpay him for being a backup, but underpay him maybe for what they think they're going to get. Or you draft a guy and you trade him somewhere. But what kind of value will you get? It's hard to say.
Yep. Mike, anything else for Robby before we wrap up? I know we're about a year and a half
I do
hour
have
here.
1 or 2 more questions, and they're both conjoined, like twins. But you don't want conjoined twins because what are you going to do with the other one? Anyway, the Jets this year. So, Robby, I want your win prediction total, and I'm very curious about your prediction for the first 6 weeks. And if that changes things, if certain things happen, et cetera, et cetera. So the first 6 weeks are tough because you have the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Eagles in those 6 games. And I want to see what your prediction is for the first 6 weeks and then for the whole season.
Oh man, I haven't done any predictions yet. You guys are killing me here.
You don't have to do anything exact, but first 6
No, but
weeks.
you're getting the wheels turning. I don't want to be thinking right now.
Home
Just
against
say
the
30
Bills,
wins.
at Dallas, home against New England, home against the Chiefs on Sunday night, in Denver, and then home against the Eagles is a very, very, very difficult, precarious 6 weeks to start the season.
So what's interesting about their schedule is the opponents are tough.
Yeah.
But it's a light traveling schedule and it sets up real well.
It's the
Like if
opposite
you
of
ask
the Giants. Exactly.
if you ask any NFL team, they'd rather have good logistics as opposed to worrying about the opponents.
Really?
Because yes,
I
I
would think it's
really
the
believe.
opposite. That's interesting.
No, because if it's less travel, if it's less worry in that regard, it's so much easier on the body and it's so much easier mentally.
Yeah.
Opponents change. The win percentage going into the year for a schedule, toss it out the window. I
Well,
mean,
look at last year's Jets. They would have thought the first 8 weeks were impossible, and the last 7-8 weeks were easy, and it was the opposite. You're right.
and they started out 5-2, 6-3, 7-4. So,
Yeah.
I think they're going to be better than people think this year. I got them winning the division. Honestly,
Me too.
12
Me too.
games, 12 games,
Yep.
and but I think they're going to have to feel their way out in the beginning. So
Like start
4
off
and
with
3
3
or
and 3. Yeah.
4 and 3, 4 and 3 or 5-2.
Yeah. Man, imagine
Over the 6 games, the first 6 games.
Yeah, before the bye. That's why I broke it up like that.
Yeah, we'll go 3 and 3.
Yeah, look, we used to pray for times like this, like Meek Mill said. Imagine we're 3 and 3, we're upset. We're like, imagine like if we're 3 and 3, we could finish like 9 and 8 and make the playoffs.
Yeah, what about week 1? You guys think week 1 is going to happen?
I told Mike, I just don't I don't see a world where the Jets defense to anyone gives up more than 24 points ever. knock on wood. Like our defense is that good where Aaron Rodgers, scored 3 touchdowns, a couple field goals. We're gonna win every football game. So it's under the lights, big moment, big environment. You have a bunch of veterans.
Yeah.
It's not too big for anyone. You're not starting your rookie second rounder. McDonald will be like a rotation piece. You're not relying on rookies to change anything in your home. So
Robbie, you think Carl Lawson is going to start week 1? It sounds like he's practicing.
I don't know. I think he will be. Yes, I think he will start.
Because then Lawson, Quinnen, JFM, Jermaine, right?
Well, yeah. See, the way you got to look at it is there's 3 different types of D linemen. So you got your D tackles, your interior guys, Quinnen, Al Woods, Jefferson, and Solomon. Then you got your hybrids that are ends and base, and then kick to the inside on pass downs, JFM and Clemens.
Yep.
Then you got your balanced edge players, which is JJ and Lawson. Then you got your pass rush edge players, which is McDonald and Huff. So
well broke down. Yep.
They're just loaded. So I wouldn't even worry about Lawson, to be honest. It'll be Lawson. The base will be Lawson, Jefferson or Woods, Quinnen, JFM. And on pass situations, JFM kicks to the inside with Quinnen, and JJ Lawson on one side, McDonald and Huff on the other, rotating.
Hearing you break that down, I just feel so bad for Tanzel Smart because, like, what was he supposed to do?
No, I know, dude. What is he
He's got to
supposed
play
to do?
corner. Yeah.
I'm happy he's still here, though. I'm happy.
Did they sign him for the practice squad?
They did.
Okay, good. And I saw they brought Trey Dean back too, right?
Yep.
And Tim Boyle. They brought mostly Zach Kuntz.
Yep.
Kuntz.
That's how you pronounce it. That's
you mispronounce it on purpose? Are you one of those dudes?
No,
okay,
I wasn't
just
sure.
Just making sure.
I wasn't sure. But dude, listen,
Robby.
I think the Jets. I agree with you. The Jets are going to win 12 games.
Yeah.
We're feeling unbelievable. And look, it's like the one last thing I have to say. I know you have to go, Robbie. But when you go to a concert or you go to a musical or some other kind of event of the similar ilk, you're always going to have fun. Week 1, if the Jets lose to the Bills, it is a possibility. So like, you go to a concert, the singer's not going to fuck up a lot, but you're going to enjoy the show. The Jets could lose week 1 is my point. It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, here's the question.
I don't even remember what happened most of week 1 last year.
Here's the question, dude.
Yeah.
Can MetLife ever, because it's an atrocious building in my point of view. I mean, compared to Giant Stadium, the loudest I heard Giant Stadium being inside the building
week 2 2009.
Correct. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the high point. Can MetLife Stadium even come close to approaching that again? And
I'm expecting more. I am.
I hope so.
That's the bar, though. That is the bar. You're right, 100%. I was going to ask.
There'll be Bills fans there, no doubt.
Fuck, I forgot about those guys.
Buffalo travels well.
They travel well.
I've been to a lot of Jet games where and it's even later in the year, and the Jets at the time are 4-8. But I've been to a lot of Jet games where there's more blue than green. So
the good thing is, like, if there's 70,000 people at MetLife, let's say there's like 15,000 Bills fans. Like 6 of them might get hurt trying to break through a table pregame. That's like 14,994. That's better.
Yeah,
6 less booze.
There's something about this stadium. It just built so. It's so big. It's just built so wonky with the acoustics that don't hold the noise. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's just ridiculous there Monday night, September 11th. And Robbie, I know you guys will be a part of it.
Were you there week 16, 2015, Jets Patriots, the Decker touchdown overtime? I wasn't there either. I don't know how loud it was.
That was not. I heard it got pretty loud. But nothing compared to 2009.
You could hear it on that clip when Revis picks off Brady.
Oh, it was deafening.
Like, I don't even. It's like a crazy noise.
It gets really loud when it's sort of a soft wave. And it just kind of hits. It's weird. It's weird to describe. Yankee Stadium, late 90s, had a lot of those too.
Yeah, I mean, 3 World Series, people are got to be losing their minds. Bleacher creatures, but it's not the same.
Yeah, the Joe Girardi triple in Game 6. Go on YouTube 96? For anyone listening. What's that?
96?
96 World Series Game
Gotta
6,
be
Joe
right.
Girardi triple. When the ball
Yeah.
hits the ground, there's just this deafening sound that comes up. It's crazy. Like that's what I'm expecting from Jets fans.
I like it.
2012 Mets were 62 and 78, and Angel Pagan hit a single. Was the same thing in Citi Field.
Oh my god, Angel
Robbie,
Pagan.
we
I'll tell you
appreciate
what.
you. Yeah.
The
Go ahead.
Mets Andy Chavez catch. That was a live one too in 2006.
That is a really great one. That's one of
Yeah.
the best plays that's not appreciated enough because it's in a losing effort in the history of sports.
Yeah, it
Stand
is.
by that one.
What's up? All right, Robbie, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon. We appreciate it. We can
All
hang
right,
on and chat
fellas.
for a minute, but I'll wrap us up here.
All right, I'll see you
Thanks, Robbie.
guys week 1.